Hi there, I'm Peter Millard and this is 10 Minute Workshop, where 10 minutes in the workshop is never enough. In the workshop this week I've got another little sort of trestle table, trestle desk build, and I'm not going to show it you all because you've seen some of it already. It's coming up next. So I'm making another trestle desk for my client. The trestles have gone together pretty well. I haven't gone into, you're joining me well into the project. I've already made the trestles. I haven't gone into any detail on how I've made those because I did plenty of detail on that in the previous video series. There's a link up there if you want to check that one out. You make a template and you make the legs and you join them together, and it's all gone together fine. They're on my sort of flat glass reference table here, reference top. So checking those for wobble in both ways, and that's absolutely fine. I think this one is as well. Yeah. And this, all good. So the next part of the job is to make the desk top, and again, yeah, it's not terribly different to the previous one, but it's a little bit bigger. I'll just spin you around this way a minute. It's not as long as the previous one, but it's deeper. And the only difference with this top really is that we're going to have a channel, a slot cut in the back here, which is then going to have a brass inlay set into it. The whole top and the legs are going to be covered in leather. So it's all, good, pretty smart, pretty fancy. The designers have spec'd the nominal desk thickness as 40mm, and I'm going to laminate this up from 2 12s and a 15 of birch ply to get us to sort of 39mm. And really that's what I'm going to be doing first, just to get this sort of all settled in and starting to glue up. So like I say, I'm laminating this up out of 2 12s and a 15, and that, like before, it's a basic board with sort of ribs along the length of it for strength and sort of breadboard ends effectively, but because of the slot for the cable access, this rearmost rib needs to be pretty deep, so it'll look a little bit imbalanced, but for all the right reasons. With the 15mm ribs marked, I can cut them to length, then glue them in place. Working my way around the long edges, then the short edges, and finally the centre, weighting it down with whatever's to hand. Then it's onto the top, clamping all around and weighting down the centre as before. With a glue set we can trim the edges with a track saw. Dust collection on an edge shot like this is almost impossible because the blade isn't enclosed at all. So yeah, we never get a good result doing that way. Then clean up with a hand sanding block. Moving on to the tops of the trestles, I'm ripping 15mm and 6mm birch ply to size. Marking the centres and extending this around to the other side makes it easy to position them on the trestles and fix them in place. Then it's easy to glue up the 6mm capping piece, clamp it on and clean up with a sander afterwards. So we're getting pretty close towards the end of my involvement in this little job. As you know, these things go off to be wrapped in leather and then with brass rivets and all that stuff. I had a query, so there's one more thing to do, that's to cut a slot in the top of this bench, which will then have an inset brass inlay for cable access, but I put a query out to the designers about the actual placement of that's not quite clear from the drawings. I'm waiting to hear back. So I'm a bit stymied in terms of finishing it, but I'm going to start marking it out as best I can. I mean, the trestles and the tops are all done, they're all looking good. They are not level on this bench because this bench is not level, but on the glass reference surface they are. One of the comments that came up when I did these previously, this was actually specified as being the same thickness as the desktop, so 40mm, and in fact we've halved that this time, which makes them much more comfortable. It's a 40mm thick top, only a 20mm, in fact 21 between you and I, a 15 and a 6. But it makes it much more comfortable looking for that. So anyway, we'll start marking this out as best we can, and then we'll have to just sort of leave it until we get a firm answer on those on those measurements. Man.
With the table face down and making regular reference to the plans, I can position the trestles and cut the mounting rails to size. With the dimensions confirmed, I can extend the marks around to the top face and make the first long cut. Then move the rail to make the second cut, using a 2mm packer to offset the rail to allow for the blade kerf. The short ends are done with my multi-tool plunge board, finishing up the corners freehand before cleaning up the saw cuts with a chisel. I'm marking the rebate with a block of 9mm scrap and a 1mm packer, and using a rail-mounted router to make the cuts. Again, squaring up the corners with a chisel. With the desktop face down again, I'm fixing the rails in place, then filling the screw holes with some 2-pack resin filler, before sanding it back and wrapping everything up ready for collection.
So I expect to get millions of hits on my website over the next few.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So that's the end of my involvement in that particular job. That's going off somewhere, Oxfordshire somewhere, I think, to be upholstered. Then it's going to come back into London to have the brass inlay fitted. And then, to the best of my knowledge, it's actually going abroad, that one, so I will never see that one again, so there's absolutely no chance of, of getting to see the finished product for that one. But anyway, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it out amongst your friends, and do consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. I'll see you next time. Take care.